Dino Beef Ribs, they call this the best bite in barbecue. What do you think the best way is to cook these? Well, that's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna show you how to cook one over charcoal, and then we're gonna cook one with a pellet grill, the Traeger Timberline XL versus the Weber Summit Kamado. Let me show you exactly how we achieve these great results. Let's get to it. To get started with this cook, I've got my chimney down in my Weber, and then I've got my favorite charcoal that it's called Jealous Devil. It burns longer, it burns hotter, and I think it's the best charcoal on the market. Let's pull that out for just a moment. Take a couple of our fire starters. All right, let's set those fire bombs right down in the box of the grill. We're gonna set the charcoal right on top, and we're gonna forget about it for about 25 minutes. For this cook, we are using Naughty Woods Almond Cabernet Blend. And if you guys have seen any of my work here on YouTube, you guys know that I use one of two pellets. I'm either using Smokin' Pecan brand or I'm using Naughty Wood Cabernet Wine Blend. It's almost like if you stand over here, you get an aroma of like wine. And today we're gonna roll at 250 degrees on both the Weber Summit Kamado charcoal grill, and they're gonna roll at 250 degrees on the Timberline XL by Traeger. When we're making beef ribs, I feel like it's really important that you don't go too hot and you don't go too low, because if you go too low, it's gonna just take too long, and you get the same result going at 250 degrees that you can at 200 degrees for this type of cook for beef ribs. Press and hold. Okay, to get started, we've got two big old beef ribs. These came from my partner friends over at Certified Piedmontese. They go by Good Life Brands. So let's just simply open up the meat. It's gonna be delicious in a few hours from now. Set it there, we're gonna pat it dry. Here's the other one. You can tell this one is a little bit smaller. You can tell just it's not quite as thick. And then when you do a side-by-side comparison, you can tell obviously it is a little bit bigger. Make sure that you get them dried off. And I've just got a paper towel. Get most of the moisture off as much as possible. I mean, you don't have to. I like to make sure all the moisture is removed. I like to do my ribs Al Fragoni style. And if you don't know who Al Fragoni is, he is a really good live open fire cook, which means he doesn't really trim much off of the meat cooks that he does. And the only thing that I'm gonna do is when you see these corners like this, that right there, I'm just simply gonna cut that off because it might just burn. And I don't want the meat to burn on the edges. I'm okay with this fat right here. You know, there's gonna be a lot of people that will tell you remove the fat, you should. But really, I mean, most of it should kind of render down, at least in my opinion. Like I said, I'm not a pit master, but just a few small trims and then we'll be ready to go. So we've got these two big old beef ribs, and we like to call them dino ribs in the barbecue community. Four things that you really need for this cook, in my opinion. Number one, you're gonna need some good salt. I like to use this rub right here. This is from a really good friend of mine, Neil Williams, called the Flattop King. It's one of his barbecue seasonings. Cue that, by the way. And we're gonna use mustard as a binder, and then we're gonna use some coarse black pepper to start so that it helps to form bark on the outside of the rib. All right, let's take our beef ribs. Gonna go right down in our dripez tub, and we're gonna hit it with a generous portion of mustard. Just gonna coat all sides really of the rib. And the reason I'm doing mustard is I want the seasonings to stick well to it. Why do I want pepper first? Because I want to make sure that the pepper adheres to the meat. That is what helps establish a really good bark on the meat. So I'm just going to hit it with some coarse, freshly ground black pepper. Not too much because you don't want it to be too peppery, but that right there is what you're looking for. It's coated really well just so that you have pepper to establish some really good bark. Put a little pepper on the sides. We're gonna add some Q that. This is my good buddy Neil, Flattop King. And whenever you're adding your seasonings, you never wanna rub it, you just wanna pat it in. Because that right there allows it to adhere to the meat when you pat it in conjunction with the mustard as well. The last thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit it with some coarse sea salt, just right on top. This is a very fine sea salt. This is a sea salt that I get, actually, it comes directly from Korea. To me, it's a high quality salt. I'm just gonna pat it in. Just like that. And there we have what I call well-seasoned beef ribs. Chimney is good and hot. You see flame, so let's remove that for just a brief moment. We're gonna add a base of coals so that we can smoke throughout the entire cook. And then we're gonna take the existing charcoal that's been lit in our chimney. Boom. All right, and you wanna make sure that you distribute it so that most of the hot coals are right here on the 7 o'clock to 11 a.m. side, or noon, if that makes sense. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add smoke flavor. Smoke flavor is important for beef ribs, and these are what we call these Jealous Devil Flex. They are pure compressed post oak. All right, last but not least, we're gonna set our shield. That's our heat shield right there. Not required, but it's something that I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna set a drip pan so that it catches most of the fat drippings from the beef ribs. All right, we're gonna take our grill grates. We're gonna close our lid, and we're gonna let that go about halfway to where the vents open to allow the Weber Summit Kamado to come to the right temperature. We're looking for between 250 to 260 degrees. So this is gonna take about 10 minutes to calibrate or to come up to the right temp. And then we're gonna add the beef ribs. Just before we add the meat on the grills, I'm gonna take one of these Thermo Works. This is what they call the RFK edition. It gives you the opportunity to set whatever temperature probe that you want to the particular cook that you're doing. And so you're gonna take your meat thermometer. I love Thermo Works, by the way. They're one of the best on the market. So you wanna find the thickest part of the meat, which is gonna be right there, and put your thermometer in it. Then we're gonna take the second cut of meat and we're gonna go in the thickest part as well. Now we're just gonna set up our cook and the app, and we are ready to get these things loaded. We're up to temp on both smokers. The Traeger is running exactly at 250 degrees. The Weber Summit Kamado is rolling at 260. So let's go. Get the meat on, come on. All right, we're gonna take the biggest cut first. We're gonna load it on the Weber Summit Kamado. Woo, look at that smoke rolling. We're gonna set that right there, and we're gonna leave it alone for 90 minutes. After about 90 minutes, we're gonna spritz it with apple cider vinegar. Now let's go load the other one on the Traeger. Let's get our lid opened up. Freshly cleaned grill. Take that well-seasoned beef rib. Right on there. Need a spritzing bottle, apple cider vinegar, but I don't have any apple cider vinegar. The next best thing I have is sushi vinegar. Still gonna give it a really good flavor. So let's add some of that vinegar. And we're gonna go over to each grill and we're gonna spritz it with some apple cider vinegar to help with our moisture within the ribs and to break down some of the fat. So we're about 90 minutes to 2 hours into our cook, and I've got some vinegar and we're going to spritz the meat. It helps with bark formation and adding really good color. And we're gonna go do the other one on the Traeger pellet grill. So let's go ahead and check our ThermoWorks app to check our temperatures. You can see we are at 135 on this cut of meat here, and we're at 138 on the other cut of meat. So we're within 2 degrees of each other, so the cook is going well. We just need more bark to film, and we're gonna wrap at about 170 degrees. Well, you can really tell how the bark has formed on the beef ribs, and see how it's starting to shrink up right here. You've got the meat pulling away from the bone. That's a good sign. You've got a nice dark color. That's what we're looking for. We're at 175 degrees. We're just gonna go ahead and take these, set them on our tray, and we're gonna wrap these in butcher paper. I'm just simply gonna take some brisket beef tallow and we're gonna pour it right over the brisket. It's like, why am I adding beef fat to beef? Well, it's gonna help with moisture, number one, and number two, it's gonna add another depth of flavor. Roll up the edge, flatten it out on each side, then we're gonna fold it over, flatten that out, fold over, and flatten out, and then we're simply gonna roll it over. And you gotta remember, that's the bottom. We wanna stay on the bottom. Then we're gonna fold over one more time. Last step, you wanna make sure that you get those other parts of the butcher paper folded in. Snug as a bug, as they like to say. We're gonna go put this back on the Weber Summit Kamado until we hit about 200 degrees. Then we're gonna rest it. All right, both Dino Beef Ribs are loaded back on their respective grills. This is a Traeger Timberline XL, and then that is a Summit Kamado. We've got charcoal grilled flavor, then we've got pellet grill smoke flavor. And you might ask yourself, why are you wrapping the Dino Beef Ribs? Well, the reason that I like to wrap Dino Beef Ribs, once the bark is formed, you saw the black, dark brown colors, is so that you trap in the moisture. Unlike unwrapping it, it'll still be moist, but not near as moist as when you wrap it with butcher paper. That's why I like to do it. Got a notification, we are at 200 degrees. So let's go ahead and take our beef ribs that is on these Weber Summit Kamado. And let's get this thing in a dripez blanket. All right, see that? It's insulated. I don't know what that looks like inside, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the beef rib. This one came off the Weber Summit. We're gonna slide it all the way to the back, and we're going to zip her up. About an hour. This will be ready to eat. All right, so we are at 202 degrees on the beef ribs that are in here. You can tell with the meat thermometer from ThermoWorks, and the other one on the pellet grill is at 187. The only reason that we're at that high a temperature is because I let the Weber Summit Kamado get up to over 300 degrees for a little portion of time. So therefore the heat spiked up and this one cooked quicker. We've hit the magic number of 200 degrees for the second set of beef ribs on the Traeger. Next step, to the dripez blanket. Oh, it's so cute and cuddly. Both cuts of meat have been resting for at least an hour. The one that came off the Weber Summit Kamado rested for an hour and 20 minutes just because it got done first. And then the pellet grill, or the one that came off the Traeger pellet grill, rested for 1 hour. So let's take these beautiful cuts of beef rib. We're gonna take them out of that cozy blanket. All right, so first up is the beef rib from the Weber Kettle. Look at those Dino beef ribs. Wow. Look at that. This beef rib came from the Weber Kettle, and you can tell how the meat has shrank and cooked through fully, how the bones are exposed. That means it's ready to dive into. Now let's look at the one from the Traeger. If I can get into this thing. Oh. The juice, oh my gosh. Look at all the juice right there. Wow. Look at that. Now it's time to cut into the beef ribs. So I'm just gonna cut straight into them just like this. That looks juicy, tender. It's a little bit dry right there, I'm not gonna lie. Probably wouldn't have hurt if I would have pulled these maybe at say 196. But I will say overall, man, these look great. So we're gonna set these aside for just a second. Cut into the Traeger ones. Wow, I'm not gonna lie. You get a better smoke ring, a little bit more juice out of the Traeger ones. Wow, look at that right there. I know that side, it may look a little bit dry, but my goodness, is that ever juicy. Look at that right there. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, overall, I really do believe the Traeger Pellets grill smoked ones, they look better. They look juicier. They look like they have a nicer smoke ring. So this is the Traeger. This is the Weber charcoal. I want you to look at that. Now we've got all of the ribs cut. We've got over here, we've got the Traeger Timberline XL beef ribs. And over here we have the Weber Summit Kamado beef ribs. So let's go ahead and take a dive into what we call the best bite in barbecue. Now let's cut a piece off for me to try from the Timberline XL, the Traeger. So first off, let's try the Weber. Whoa, you wanna try it?
Yeah.
It's like this really intense charcoal, smoky flavor. What do you think?
It's good beef.
It's done good, whatever it is. All right, now let's go down with the Traeger. So you can see the smoke ring on the outside? I mean, that's good too. I'm not gonna lie. I think my personal favorite will be the Weber.
No, I was gonna say that too. So the Traeger one looks prettier, but the Weber one tastes better.
I want you to be the judge. If you get a chance, you can try it both ways. These Dino Beef Ribs cooked on the Weber Summit Kamado, and then the Traeger Timberline XL ribs. I mean, that's just where, in the beginning of this video, I told you to choose which one you will cook or whatever method it will be. But no joke, man, they're both very good. But the charcoal grilled, I added those, the Jealous Devil post oak compressed wood at the beginning, just added a ton of smoke flavor, and it's just a better bite of barbecue that I feel like than the Traeger Timberline XL. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that smash button that says subscribe, as well as make a comment, share this video, and let me know if it was helpful and if you'll actually do this cook, and tell me what grill you own. Whether it's a Traeger, Pit Boss, Rectech, I don't know, Weber, Summit Kamado, or maybe even have the original kettle. Just let me know down in the comments what kind of grill you have. All right, until next time, guys, we'll see you later, and we're gonna sit here and me and Aaron are gonna chow down on some beef ribs.